the sleep-deprived zombie of Roseman, California. Maybe I should stick with that schtick. We were John C. Roseman, California. And I did say that, didn't I? It's 4:52 in the morning. Yeah, a little bit later than I usually do, don't I? And it's Saturday, June 19th, 2021, with a comfortable temperature of 79 degrees. We're going to be pulling off another triple, or just about. And give it a few more hours before we start cooking again. They say this weekend is supposed to be the Juneteenth weekend, where we celebrate the abolishing forever slavery in America. It took us only about 150 years to do that in the first place. But we said we had emancipated the black slaves in 1864 when we had the Emancipation Proclamation announced. The war won. There was supposed to be an amendment. And then it took its sweet ass time trying to get itself worked on. But besides that, and we have people celebrating it now. It's a federal holiday, which we actually did celebrate yesterday. But the other one's coming up that I hardly ever celebrated in the first place. Let's get this damn thing off. Father's Day. Father's Day is the one day out of each year that we're supposed to be celebrating our venerated male counterpart to our mothers. They're supposed to bring us guidance, wisdom, a swift kick in the ass, slap upside the head, learning experiences of all sorts. The emotional was supposed to be from the mother because they were perceived a long time ago, even in our youth, as the mother who was supposed to be nurturing us emotionally, while the physical hard things were supposed to be from the dad. He was supposed to be all knowledge, all guru. Problem is, life never just gives you that one, does it? Sometimes you are stuck with your mother, and maybe with some siblings if you were lucky. And that was your family right there. You couldn't exactly celebrate Father's Day unless your mother actually married someone or hooked up with someone. You're going to be asking me about my own experiences. Well, shall I throw the disclaimer in the hook? Like every other YouTube creator out there, they would have to gather for subscribers and likers and dislikers and commenters out there. And my usual disclaimer is I am not a guru. Well, that's really growing old with dust and stuff, but I have to throw it out there anyway. I am no expert at anything except for the stuff I'm very experienced in my lifetime right now as it is. I've got no letters, no BAs, AAs. I'm working on my AA, by the way. College student. 55, not bad, huh? Okay, cool. So, I'm saying things, what I've experienced, what I've gone through, what I've learned, what I've read. And if you happen to take me seriously enough, that's on you, that's not on me. If you happen to learn something from the ramblings of an old fool and idiot, I'll be surprised. Because actually, I may have had some wisdom out there that I didn't even realize, and that scares the living crap out of me. Father's Day. Father was supposed to be the strong man of the family, you know. He was supposed to be the Hercules. He's supposed to do everything. He's supposed to be mechanically inclined. He's supposed to know how to navigate, how to read a damn map, how to drive. Had to be anything and everything, including the moneymaker. It was supposed to be, it was supposed to be, it was supposed to be. Fill in the blanks on that one. Yeah, you guys been watching the videos these days, you realize, I never had a biological sperm donor mentioned as a dad before. Simply put, there was no such thing in my lifetime. No, there wasn't. And if I actually had, perhaps my course and my decisions in life would have been a hell of a lot different. Sorry, sock pull. What happens when it gets stuck in the shoe real bad? Got these weird ass diabetic socks I'm still wearing it on. I suppose dads have to work with that one too. When they get older and they're more infirmed or still trying to show how vigorous they are and how full of life sometimes. Or they could be a royal asshole. I can use the term asshole. I can use stronger terminology too, but asshole is the best one. And they can show you what kind of a jerk they can really be. And you can come from a split family or a divorced family. It's just about the same thing anyway. What's even harder is when you come from a family that doesn't have a family due to death. There's death in one or death in both, and it becomes harder and harder to deal with. Because now you have to deal with, have to deal with, have to deal with, have to deal with. And I know deep inside you're screaming and yelling at yourself, I don't want to listen to this anymore because I don't want to deal with this anymore. And you'd be quite right. You'd be quite right about that one because nobody likes dealing with it. Death is one of those damn things. It's a common thing in our lifetime because we still have to face it. Each and every one of us. We're born with a limited lifespan. We live. We're born in pain. We experience everything else, including joys, and then more pain and more grief and more agony, fears, phobias, courage. And then we've reviewed up all of our lives. We're supposed to reflect what the hell we did, wish we could have done more, and then just poof, gone. Sounds simple enough, right? Yeah, I know. We're going to get into tangents and divergence on this one again. But getting back to the father figure at this point over here. It's easy enough that we can create the fantasy father figures out there to see if they're going to be the most perfect ones we can try following these days, the role models. Or we can actually look at the biological sperm donors we actually called fathers and see whether or not they actually measured up to our own damn expectations, or if they had their own expectations we can never fill up. We can actually never match up with. But I will never know about having it because I never had a father or a dad or a pop or anything else like that. I've had a biological sperm donor, did a hit and run, and as soon as he found out Ma was pregnant, he ran. I'm not the first, and I'm not the last. What I mean to say is, I can't be the only person out there who's ever had that situation before. Or it's bad enough as when someone's been put through the adoption process and never know who the real parents were until maybe about when they're legal age, and then they start screaming and yelling. Well, how come they weren't told about it at a young age? Because you weren't ready for it yet. Well, how do you know I wasn't? Because your reaction right now tells you so. And even if you happen to go out there and find your birth family, are they going to be what you expected them to be? What you hoped for them to be? And the thing of it is, it never is. Well, at least for some people I've heard anyway. For me personally, I've never had it, so I don't know. I've had people try to find my birth father, and nothing happened. Just disappeared off the radar. So maybe it's like one of those weird ass things out there that I'm not supposed to know in my life. That I came from someone who gave me a name, put it on a birth certificate, and just took off in life. Meanwhile, my mother had to struggle with two sons. An 8 year older, let's see, 8 years older sibling. It had to be the man of the house, and already had enough of his issues anyway. I could barely deal with that one anyway. But she was already handling a lot on her plate. So she had to be the man and the woman at the same time. Nurturing, hard nosed, authoritative at times, and she tried to be loving when she could. And the rest of the time, basically authoritative. I told you once, I'm not going to tell you again. You don't do this to me, I'm going to give you the silent treatment at this point over here. Hitting you's not going to be no damn good. She tried it on one a few times. She was told to do that. Got used to it. But he still tried to obey her like crazy, my brother. Me, on the other hand, since I was a sickly one, I wasn't able to be bullied or pushed around like that. But I didn't get away with shit either. So I just got the silent treatment. It's even just as bad. She couldn't hit me, but she could really hurt me. And she wanted me to be independent as possible. But she hated me to being independent because she wanted me to be dependent, but independent. She could make up her mind, and I didn't know how to interpret it either. She liked me reading books, and I read books. But she wanted my grades up, and she didn't like what I was doing at the time in the first place. I wasn't studying harder. I had to study like everybody else by rote. I had to force myself and push myself in schools, even though they did have special education programs out there for a sickly kid like me. So what happens when you're born with plumbing out of whack and have surgery for the age of 4 years old, and crooked limbs, klutzy as hell, getting accidents like crazy? The doctor's bills were enormous. If I had a father, would I have changed? I don't know. Guess I'll never guess. I mean, I could guess all the things I want, but the damn thing is not. It's not going to solve it. It's just not going to happen. So I am dealing with what is right now. I have grown up into a man who's done things in his life that maybe I should have or should not have. We all done that. I never been that mechanically inclined, even though I did show artistic talents. Never did bother to bring them out much in us in adulthood. Just had to work my ass off like crazy, like a worker drone should. Find a job, work your ass over there as best as you can, then get your ass kicked out for some reason or another. Find another job or get retraining and get back into another field and then work your ass off and then get your ass kicked. Fall back to your former job skills, work there for another time or two at a place or two, and then get your ass kicked. Growing up, 35 years, regretting college. But also during that time trying to get stronger relations with the family, with the bloodline anyway, with Mama and David, my big brother. Yeah, turn the camera around. Now, a lot of you, if you've actually seen the videos, you've seen my own point of view. It hasn't changed much. Because this is my chair. This is usually my brother's chair, but this is my chair now. And he had taught me a long time ago, sit on opposite ends. I watch his back, he watches mine. He'd watch that way. I'd watch this way all the damn time. Drive myself crazy. I always wondered what the opposite side felt like and looked like. I did that every once in a great while when he was sleeping. I took care of him last several years of his life, and prior to that, to my mother. Last several years of her life. A way of giving back, not in torment, but in love. Power to the caregivers. So I was never actually able to celebrate a Father's Day, but when it came time for Mother's Day, yes. I would not live it down. I would not be living that damn thing down for the life of me. If I had forgotten just one Mother's Day, it would haunt me until the day I die and then afterwards. That's how Ma treated it as such. It was her day. You do not screw around with her birthday. You do not screw around with Mother's Day. You sure as hell don't screw around with her Christmas. Thanksgiving, I don't know about that one. But those are the three major holidays that she had loved. And you better do it otherwise. So when it came down for celebrating a male authority, they actually never had a Brothers Day, you know? Nothing like a national or international Brothers Day, which you can actually celebrate your younger or older siblings. And if I did, he would have been the one. My big brother. Silent as a tomb, that cabinet is. Because it is a tomb. I gave a lot. The final thing I can give him is a final resting place. Until I get rid of the ashes one way or another. According to their wishes. Father's Day was supposed to be celebrating a biological male component in a life that was supposed to mean something or mean a damn in someone's life. I never could. I had uncles who were fathers of their own, right? Had their own kids, so I had cousins. And I was enamored with them. I was enamored. And at one time I remember telling my mother, why couldn't you just be like one of them? I was a young, smarthy, smartass, smarmy teenager. Got sick and tired of my mother's attitude. Pushing me around, bossing me around, how dare you? So I got on her case. Why can't you be like this guy over here? Why can't you be like this guy over here? It it cut her to the quick. I told her in one way that I was losing faith in her abilities of being a good parent. That to her I felt like I didn't love her as much. So I felt like I was getting more and more disappointment from her because I was disappointed in her. You know, there are certain things that after your loved one has died that you fail to you fail to tell everything else that you should have in the first place. Fail to get reconciliation, and it's too late when they're dead. And sometimes doing these recordings, I'm doing the same damn thing myself because I can never get their forgiveness in this life. But I can be the memory and try to slant it in a better way or tell it as it is and be a royal pain in the ass about it. But then again, somebody tell me which parent was perfect. I mean, tell me which particular mortal parent was actually perfect parents, and then under whose eyes and whose definition was perfection? Was this great perfection level? Where's this grading? Where's the skill level? Where's the criteria that we grade perfection in our parents? Sorry. I'm just, I get agitated when it comes down for days like this. I heard so many damn commercials and stories and whatnot concerning about what Father's Day was supposed to be for fathers, what they could do, what the kids could do for their parents. I had a biological hit and run sperm donor. That's the only thing I have to say about it. And yeah, there was been a hell of a lot of anger and nowhere to trace this bastard. So yeah, for growing up, I had a lot of anger and a lot of resentment. I'm probably not the only one. And it hurts like hell because I'd like to have closure in my lifetime and I realize I'll never have it. And the only thing I regret more is not telling my own family that I grew up with that I really did love them a great deal. And I feel like these days I'm a disappointment to them because I haven't lived my life in the fulfillment of someone else's order or criteria or hopes or dreams. They would hope maybe I'd be aspiring something that I kept telling people I would be and then coming up as less than average. And I think it's a pattern that may be out there besides my own thoughts and feelings about this. Because I don't know whether or not if I'm actually like one of those strange, weird, isolated kids out there who actually felt like I don't know how to put it in words. Other things I could try putting in words like crazy, but it's a viewpoint, it's a thought, it's a feeling, it's a mode, it's an attitude that just transcends the spoken word. A look, a feeling, a movement shift. I couldn't tell somebody else how to feel or how to act or how to behave when it comes down for their own biological sperm donor, I shall say it. I don't know. I have a hard time trying to say father or pops or dad because I never have anybody like that. Of course, I could have been adopted a long time ago, but that was never going to happen. Could have been, but didn't happen. I could have been somebody else's kid and having a brother screw that up because of his own fear of getting a lot of misunderstandings of his circumstances. My mother loved this one guy a great deal, and he expressed a hell of a lot of love towards me and Dave. And I liked this guy, I really did. And then one time, Ma came home with a ring. There had been an incident earlier on that stuck in my brother's craw that colored his attitude a great deal towards this man. And then he discovered that through talking with the siblings. They would have been, they were treated a hell of a lot differently and harsher than what Dave and I would have been. But this guy would not hesitate. And an action happened, and that attitude and that action came out. Changed my brother entirely. So when Ma came out with a ring, David started packing. He wasn't going to deal with someone who was going to be someone harsher than what he had ever been through. He was going to go through his own biological sperm donor's place out in Texas. Of course, he had that person called as a father, or actually as a dad or a pop. Turns out this guy actually had a soft spot for me too, and I didn't even realize it. For a long while, I didn't realize I was adopted into his family. Not officially, but still. I was still adopted into his family a great deal. But I haven't heard from him in a hell of a long while. So I probably died out with the father there. My brother had a lot of hard things and harsh things about his own father, but eventually he had, in his later adult life, tried to repair those damages and bridges, and both of them did have good relations, separated by thousands of miles, except through phone lines and cellular phones. They were actually able to keep up. My brother didn't properly grieve for his father when he passed away. We were going through a traumatic incident during that time of being evicted. So my brother really didn't take the time necessary to grieve. He compartmentalized everything. So I suppose up in heaven right now they've already made the reconciliations with everybody up there. My brother was saddened about the course of events that changed our lives forever. We could have had a father. We could have had somebody in our lives. But he could have been the worst guy, and we don't know. And he tried to make amends, but well after Ma died, my brother had tried to do this. And the amends were made. The apologies were made. But you know, it was after decades of growth and change, and then that was it. But amends were made. Some of the information will probably die with me, go to the grave, so to speak, because I don't think it'd be that relevant anyway. I'm trying to protect integrity here. Some things you just don't tell it, and other things I can allude to, but so yeah, Father's Day was not exactly the best day of my life. The only time I thought I actually talked to my father on the phone was when I was about 5 years old, 5 or 6, well after my heart surgery, at the age of 4. My mother has the phone number. She actually found, actually worked. She actually recognized the guy on the other line, and she wanted me to talk to my own father. I was excited about it. As soon as I identified myself as his son, he hung up on me. This is your son, John. Who? Your son, John Weaver. Click. Hello? Hello? He disappeared after that. Changed the phone number, changed the address, changed everything. So I never actually did have a father. I had a big brother tried to be a father in many which ways. I've had other uncles try to be somewhat of a pseudo father, but they were just uncles. But they're loved anyway. The only thing I can say for you, if you've actually got a father, is it's up to you and up to him whether or not your relationship is solid or not. Some fathers are assholes and other fathers are pretty damn decent people. And if yours is pretty damn decent people, hold on to those kind of special people. And realize that things are going to be changing a hell of a lot down the road. And if he is an asshole, well, accept him, move on, or just drop kick the guy in the next century and say, forget it. It's up to you. All points of advice at this point over here is not relevant. Because really, I'm not here to tell you anything about it. I was going to tell you about my own damn interpretations of what my own thoughts and feelings concerning what fatherhood is and fathers are. I'd never been married. I had never had kids. I guess maybe I'll blame the past for that one. That I'd never been properly prepared for how to be a father. And if I was a father, it scared the hell out of me. I wouldn't have any experience in the past to draw upon on how to be a good father to a kid. Not even if it's to an adopted. I figure my bloodline's already screwed up right now. Might as well just pass it away. Just say the hell with it. If I was actually to be able to be a father, that'd be a big ass if right there. I have no clue what kind of a father I'd be. Because I have no experience, no context, no perspective, perception, nothing. I don't have anything to draw upon in knowing how to be a father. Except maybe to be something that maybe my mother was trying to be and try to make the less mistakes she did. Or make more mistakes and really have a son growing up and resenting the crap out of me. Then maybe I'll disappear and this and I'll have a nice chain of events that'll happen to him that he'll be regretting it ever since. And that's a concept I'd rather not live with. It's a concept I'd rather not have the kid live through. Because I don't want this kid growing up to hate his father or her father. Especially if I'm going to be the old man in the family. I don't know if I'll be a good father or not. I'm terrified of the idea. Said before, I got no one to draw upon the mistakes except maybe uncles and a big brother that tried to help me out in life, and he was already having enough problems as it is. But I can tell you that hold on to your father as best you can. Hold on to your mother and your siblings as best you can. Because to me, family is the most important thing in life. Besides breathing and besides drinking and eating and the biological functions we have to go through. But when it comes to emotional support, family's important. I miss mine a great deal. Some days at a stretch, I'm actually able to function. Other days, I don't. You guys been watching the videos. Said something about my mother and my brother passing away. My brother was the last person in my life that actually meant a damn in my life that passed away. And then everything else just didn't matter. Except for certain promises I've made to both of them. Completing school. Doing something with my life. I hope. So this is one Father's Day message sent out to the world. Enjoy your biological sperm donors as much as you can. Call them whatever names or titles you have. If you got affection for them, if you have a great love for these guys, go for it. If you don't like them, that's on you, that's not on me. Deal with them. Treat them as human beings if you can. If you can. Because somehow or another, they're also still worthy enough to be in that place, even though they had screwed up one way or another. And they got to be held to the standard of being a father, even though they'll deny it. But they are a father, because if they had you, they made that choice a long time ago. And they have to deal with it and stick with it. So with that one, you guys have the happy Father's Day. Me? No such thing.